All right, Gasparilla Music Festival 2019. I'm sitting here with Peter Hayes from Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. Peter, we are thrilled that you, well, first of all, we know you guys are on the West Coast, but we're thrilled that you carved out some time ahead of your European tour to join us here in the early festival season in Tampa.
Thank you very much for having us. You know,
When we put this together, you know, having a band of your caliber,
oh God.
it's, no, I'm serious, man. No, I'm serious. I love your sound, and Phil and I, Phil is one of our founding members of the festival. We were talking, I think I told you earlier, you have maybe the purest sound in rock and roll. Can you talk to some of the equipment dorks out there that would like to know from like a pedal, guitar, amp perspective? Can you just touch on what your go-to is?
Very unpure, actually, to be honest. As far as live rig goes, if for recording, I'll end up doing a lot of direct guitars, like straight in, as far as pure as you can get there. But for live, and then build layers to create kind of a thing for live. But for record, but for live, open tunings, and then I got 4 amps, so it's kind of a stereo split of one sound, and then one's getting kind of a direct, and then another one's getting a reverb. They're all getting delays at different times. So it's trying to build those layers live that happen on record type thing. But it's very unpure. It's running through TC electronic stuff and Sans amp, distortions, trying to,
Well, it sounds freaking amazing. So, I've heard you say that you and Robert have like kind of maybe a quiet competition when it comes to songwriting, and I think it's so rare. I don't see any acts out there that I can think of that have two really chief songwriters and kind of lead singers. And there's a few songs, of course, like Whatever Happened, where you're both kind of, you carry the choral melody and Robert's taking kind of the lead. But can you talk a little bit about that dynamic of kind of pushing each other in the craft of songwriting?
Well, it's as much as anybody else, really, any other band in a way. You try to, you look at it and it's like, oh, that's a good song. You can't deny it as far as catchy. And as far as lyric writing, I don't know. You also try to stay out of each other's way, At the same time, it ends up. You gotta be able to have a bit of respect for staying out of somebody else's way, And we both try to, do that as best we can, And you step back, let someone else take the lead. Neither of us wanted to be the singer. In the beginning, we were looking for a singer, but we couldn't find one, so we had to.
I'm probably the happiest guy on earth that didn't happen, because I think you have two very unique vocal qualities. I think you both bring, different unique things to the band. By my math, we're coming up on, I think, almost 14 years since Howl came out, which is a very important record personally to me. So you're coming up on 15 years. I hope you guys do something special with that, at least, vinyl reissues, something to that effect. But is that record, in hindsight, it stands out to me amongst a lot of your body of work for a lot of reasons. It almost seems like a deviation in a way, in a really positive way. But does that make any sense, Peter? Is that record important to you when you look back? Is that a special record?
Yeah, it was kind of the last of the introduction to what we are as a band, We had been saying it from the first record. It was like, we're fans of lots of music, and it didn't get written about much, people kind of like, whatever. The second record came out, it was like, whatever. And it was like, no, really, we're fans of other music too. And so, when we had those songs had been floating around since the first record, a bunch of them anyways. And so we just kind of held on to them, and then it was like I said, it was another introduction. It was like we're fans of music. We don't really care about what you call it, rock and roll, blues, whatever you want to call it. So be it,
And I was telling Michael, I'm like, if you remember seeing that show back in 2005, I think you brought in, maybe a Hammond B3, or Robert would play an organ in a lot of the songs, and like songs like Open Invitation, they're just that's almost like that's a spiritual tune to me. That's just a really special record. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a harmonium.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's nice for you to say that. Whoever gets anything out of it, it takes the listener to get something out of it. So thank you.
So I had to chuckle this summer. I got to see you guys in Atlanta at the Shaky Knees Festival, which was a great show, great set. I think it was the day before I saw a little-known band called the Brian Jonestown Massacre play, and I happened to run across some video footage of you sitting in New York on a documentary called Dig, in which you're basically telling the camera, like, all right, I'm leaving this band and I'm going back to California and I've got another band. And of course we all know that was the birth of Black Rebel. Regardless of what people think of Anton, I guess what I'm trying to say is it looks like that band's got some level of stability that it hasn't had in the past. And is that refreshing for you to see? Are you still friendly with those guys?
Oh, well, I'm friendly if anyone wants to talk. I don't have their phone number. But we've run into them. They came out on tour with us for I think it was during our second record in England. But yeah, fans of their music. Yeah, we.
The Warhols rep you guys real hard too. I mean, yeah.
They're all nice folks. It was a good time. I got nothing but good things to say about any of them and all of them, really. They do what they do. Me and Rob had been playing music before. Me and him, I sat down. We kind of had a talk, and I was like, well, they need a guitar player for a bit when they moved to Los Angeles, and I was like, well, I'm gonna go hang out with them. I'm gonna try to get as many phone numbers as I can for clubs. We'll do this little tour. And so I did that. I collected all the clubs in LA's phone numbers, and then when that fell apart, I was like, it's my time. I never considered myself in the band. I was only there to piece it together until the other guys could come back. That was it.
Yeah, to understand. So Wrong Creatures came out, I want to say, what was it, January of last year. Incredible record, great record. I know you're coming off a little break. I think we're bringing you guys out of vacation a little bit. And again, we appreciate you making the great lengths. I know what's next is you're going to Europe, right? Alice in Chains, supporting.
Yeah.
Correct?
We're doing that.
Yeah.
I think we're doing China and Japan first, then Alice in Chains. Yeah.
Fantastic. What about any new songs kicking around your head?
Well, sort of. There's a bunch always floating around. Some old ones that still are done, but I haven't gotten them out yet. They're always kicking around. They're just trying to catch them and finish them. Find a moment.
So walking around, you've obviously played a fair amount of festivals, a lot of festivals overseas in Europe. I know England has always been a country that's been very kind to you. But when you're walking around Tampa today, GMF, we're a nonprofit festival. You were asking me some of the questions about what that means and what our mission is. How would you characterize to somebody at home about your experience here at GMF?
Well, from what you're saying, as far as community support, that's I guess the way I'm looking at it these days is that's where the start. It seems to be where the start of maybe changing the bigger picture can really happen. It's an important thing, instead of trying to go to the top and fix things from there, you start in your community. And if it's going to catch on from there, great. And I think that's how to do it. If people are going to care, you got to start. It makes sense to start there. So I think it's a lovely thing to hear, know, that's happening. You know, that you know what you guys are doing.
Well said. If there's one band that we should bring to the fold next year, who would that be?
Oh wow. Well, we were talking. Are the Verve around? You know?
Yeah, I wish. I wish.
Oh, Nick McCabe, right? Pete Salisbury, Richard. Yeah, well, try to knock them on the head.
So,
floating around. No, I don't. As far as new, are you asking about new music, old music? I don't know.
Anything. I think we'll just leave it at. We'll get the Verve to regroup. We'll get Richard Ashcroft to stop being a chump, and we'll get Nick to come out of his experimental stuff. And
Yes, he's
amazing.
Is he still playing? Right?
Well, he was doing stuff with, he was doing some stuff with like Aphex Twin, and he was doing, I've always, I don't want to say he looked bored with the Verve, but what the dynamic he added to that band. I saw him right after the first breakup at the 930 Club, and it's up there. It's in my top 5, Peter. One of your shows is in there too.
I'm ripping him off constantly.
I think he'd be happy to hear it. Well, Peter Hayes, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, appreciate you being with us today. Thank you so much. Gasparilla Music Festival 2019.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.